It's the real side of H-Town, 97.9 The Box, Madd Hatta Morning Show. So, of course, it's the year anniversary. I hate calling it that, but it's the year anniversary of Hurricane Harvey. In the studio with us now, council member or woman, Amanda. I don't know why sometimes I want to say Seals, but I know it's Edwards. Yes. But you're here. Listen, what's so funny, man?
Nothing.
You're just giggling already.
Nothing. Ready to do a great interview.
So, Miss Edwards, you're here with us this morning, and you bring a lot of information. We were talking before going on the air about you writing something. So, if we can, let's start with the information, the facts that you have about Hurricane Harvey, what you're doing to help people out. Is there opportunities for people to still be helped? All that good stuff. So, wherever you want to start.
Absolutely, Madd Hatta. I want to thank you for having me on the show and getting an opportunity to tell Houstonians about what's really happening, what can be done to continue to assist people in their time of need. So as an at-large council member, I have an opportunity to cover the whole city. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that happened immediately after the storm, I just went to go check on some seniors. And in doing so, had knocked on the door. How you doing? They were happy that somebody came to check on them. I asked them, okay, well, who's going to help you get some of that furniture removed and help you clean out the house? And they'd say to me, oh, well, you know, my grandchild will come, etc. Then I'd ask them the question, well, who's going to help you remove some of the sheetrock from your wall since it had gotten flooded in their house? And they'd say, oh, no, that doesn't need to be done. Those walls are drying. I said, oh, no, ma'am.
They have to
yeah, absolutely. And at that time, this was right after the storm, I had no idea how many senior citizens.
They didn't realize that stuff needed to be cleared.
It's a kind of a denial. I think it's a combination of different factors, right? Like some people are in denial, like you really can't be talking to me when you're saying I got to do all of that when I just got 6 inches of water in my house, or just, you know what I mean? Like they're rationalizing why this is not something they have to do. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I did not know how widespread that was. So I organized hundreds of volunteers to go out checking on senior citizens in low-income areas and making sure they knew what they were supposed to be doing. And then I started connecting them to case management services so they can help them navigate through the complicated process of recovery.
How'd that work?
Right. So in doing that, you feel like you've done this work, you've checked on these seniors, you've delivered some supplies, you've done these things, and then some of my cases were coming back from case managers marked as closed due to non-responsiveness. And I said, well, what's that mean? What do you mean non-responsiveness? Why is this closed? And so they stopped answering the phone, meaning the residents stopped answering the phone calls, repeated phone calls unanswered. And so I decided that I wanted to go back out and check on them, see why they were stopped answering the phone, hoping that it was because they had gotten help from somebody else, they had taken care of it themselves, a relative, whatever. And unfortunately, what I found in going back out is that the majority of those homes that I revisited had not received assistance and really just quit in the middle of their recovery process. I said quit. So one man, for instance, I went into his home, I knocked on his door. He finally let me in because I was a council member, and exposed walls, exposed wire, makeshift kitchen, just not conditions to live in without a plan for further remediation. Hadn't done the mold remediation, hadn't done a lot of that stuff. And asked him, why did you stop answering the phone? And the constant and consistent response is, I don't know. And then you could see their energy level just drop. They've been beat. Overwhelmed, just completely overwhelmed emotionally, physically, financially, all of those things. And so what I'm seeing is a gap between the number of people we have on the ground able to do case management services and the people that we actually need. We need to be going door to door all over these areas in Houston where they're low.
Now, who would that job go to, though? Because I know that they're probably still overwhelmed by the amount of people that still need help.
Oh, yeah, there are thousands of people that are in the back.
So what do we do?
We need more funding. We have to
I just heard the news say the other day that there's not going to be any more funding.
Madd Hatta, you're getting me upset this morning.
I mean, I'm just being honest. That's why I just heard that on the news. I just heard that on the news that there's not going to be any more.
We have to communicate a different message because notice, I told you I went to their house. They stopped answering the phone. we are not advocating for ourselves in the way that we need to. We're not making a lot of noise. When Sandy happened, when Katrina happened, folks were making noise about their needs.
Okay, this is one of the biggest storms we ever had, so I don't see why.
Second worst in history
so
in the U.S.
why would there? I don't understand why there would be a problem.
It's the personality of our community. We do it ourselves. We have a lot of pride here. You know when I'm talking about when like you go to a senior citizen's house and they're not in conditions they're proud of, they're not gonna let you in that house.
Right.
And they're gonna say no, you can stop right there.
So what's the answer to all this? What can we do?
We've got to advocate. I would say writing your congressional members and saying we have got to get another, they call them supplemental round of funding. We need another supplemental round of funding so that we can provide support for flood mitigation projects. We can provide support for case management service, more housing, all of those things we need more support for. On a state level, we haven't tapped the state rainy day fund yet. And that's
so what
a
are we
multi-billion-dollar
Should we be screaming at the mayor? Is there some other council people?
Don't scream at the mayor. Y'all gonna get me in trouble.
No. I'm just trying to figure out. I'm not trying to like.
It's advocating on the federal and state level because they have the sources of resources. Thankfully, the bond election passed over the weekend on the county level.
Saw that.
But just to kind of give you some sense of the numbers, in Texas alone, we had $125 billion with a B dollars in damage, and that bond election was $2.5 billion. It'll be coupled with some other federal sources of grants and such, but just the flood mitigation project needs, that's like $35 billion for the collective community. And that's only at the 100-year flood level. Remember, Harvey, the tax day floods, all 3 years in a row have been 500-year floods. It doesn't sound like we're going to get out of this problem that we're having here. No, it just means that we're not out of the woods yet. And that's what I want to remind people. I published an op-ed yesterday letting people know, yes, this is the 1 year anniversary. We should celebrate the response that we had to Harvey, but we are not out of the woods for recovery, and we need to advocate for ourselves. So writing letters, sending emails, making calls to your federal and state governments.
So we, the people, need to do this. We can't be sitting around waiting on Councilmember Amanda Edwards or the mayor.
And stuff too. We're all going to.
But everybody needs to do it.
We're all going to make noise. But the problem is, who are the elected officials accountable to? They're not accountable to me. They're accountable to you. You're the ones who put them in office, and you're the ones who can take them out. And so you have to exercise that voice, that right to say to people, it's not just about who gets into office, it's about what you do when you get there. And we need more coming down to the city of Houston, because everybody saw the ticker tape parade after the Astros won. Thank goodness for the Astros. But after they won the World Series, they saw the parades. They said, oh, Houston's good. And have moved on mentally from what has happened to us. And we're not out of the woods. And there's so many people who are not advocating for themselves but need a whole lot of help. And you have to go to their house to find that out, which is going to require a lot more in terms of case management service.
Okay, now a lot of people believe that we're out the water. A lot of people are just hearing this for the first time from you.
I know.
Because they don't see it on the news.
Nope.
They haven't heard about it. So they're under the impression that everybody is good to go. So now you come here saying, no, we still have problems in certain communities where these people are still not living quite well. So I don't know. I hear you saying that the community needs to step up. We need to put pressure on whomever represents us. I get all that. Is there a little bit more to it? Is there an easier way for us to deal with this situation? I mean,
we have right now, you have churches, volunteer groups, nonprofits. It's not, they're already out there trying to do some of the work. We need more of an organized effort, more training for case management. Case management is a little more complicated than just going to the door and saying, oh, I'll help you sign up. There are all kinds of complicated issues. One gentleman I spoke to who was living without electricity, it's about connecting people to all of the things that have complicated their path. Some people might have challenges with regard to that. Some people might have challenges regarding legal issues. That's a big complication. So one gentleman that I went to go check on, a senior citizen, the house is not in his name. So getting somebody, you have
something like that.
No, I mean, he's staying in the home legally, but it was in a parent's name, and they never took care of the estate issues. And so before somebody will go work on a home like that, they've got to make sure they have permission and that you legally have right to make decisions to the home. So it's those kinds of things that can get complicated and stop you right dead in your tracks. And then they say, well, I'll just wipe this stuff down. Or you have people still living with the furniture they had since Harvey. And you say, well, how could you do that? I had one gentleman tell me, I paid a couple $1,000s for this furniture. I got it just right before the storm. And so I wiped it down.
So he figures he's going to keep it even though it's really...
Oh, yeah. But people rationalize things that to us in this room, because we don't have those kinds of situations, it doesn't make sense to us. But if you're in a situation where you're, it makes sense to him.
I just let it dry out. I'm good.
Yeah, and that's what he said. I put some of that spray on it, and because then it's like for people rationalizing, like, well, I've spilled stuff on my couch before, or I've done this. I didn't have
but
to
there's
throw it
mold
away.
with this.
They don't see it. They don't see it.
I got you.
And so they're saying you're just
and that stuff can make you sick later on too.
They're thinking about right now and how much money they just spent.
You're right.
And and then again, let's talk about money, right? We don't have the $1.15 billion that's supposed to be down here in Houston for housing projects. That hasn't arrived yet. A lot of all the funding that we were talking about in terms of a federal level, that hasn't gotten here yet. It's very slow. So the other thing I will say about recovery is there's a difference between disaster response, which is what you saw in the immediate aftermath, people helping each other, getting them to the convention center, all that's response. Now we're in the recovery phase, and that's a longer journey. I used to live in New Orleans after Katrina, and I will tell you, it is a long journey. It is not something that just gets handled in a couple of months.
So, is there give us a phone number. Give us one or two things we can do right now to assist all these individuals. I think that's what we need to know right now. What can we do immediately to get these folks
You
some
can
help?
contact United Way 211 and find out who you can volunteer with on a local level in terms of those that are providing case management services. There's a need for case managers and case management training. Baker Ripley, SBP USA, Habitat for Humanity, and others, of course, are constantly out there. They need manpower in terms of the housing rehab that is being done. But again, we've got to bring some resources to the table. So you have to do the advocacy piece. So also making sure you're reaching out. There's a thing called Who Represents Me online. You can look it up, Who Represents You. But I would contact all of the members of the Texas delegation. Just contact them all, because I will tell you, I have been told that there isn't an appetite for another. I'll use the term appetite because that's what I was told. There isn't an appetite for additional federal funding to come down here, and we were splitting a lot of that money. Listen, I wish that were not the case. That
does not.
So please prove me wrong, man.
Okay, all right. Well,
get the listeners out there mobilized.
There you go. Talk to them.
Energized listeners. I'm here on bright and early on a Monday morning, asking for your support to make sure that we're reaching out to the federal government, telling them we need more assistance for case management service, housing, flood mitigation projects. We need to make sure that our Houstonians, all of our Houstonians, fully recover, not just a percentage of them. And I don't think we recover as a city unless all of our residents are able to do so. All
right, Councilmember Amanda Edwards in the building. She's going to stick around today because we got a lot of stuff going on. So she'll be here. If there's questions, I'm sure she can answer way better than me. 713-621-0979 is the BOX.